Hey there, Taurus. Welcome to your reading for the week. Oh, no, this is for this time next year, is what we're going to look at. Each row is going to represent something different. This is all based off a post I did in your comments. So these are. Each row is going to represent something that you all suggested. You have this Fire Spirit card and this Miracle of Creation card. Your first row is going to represent messages you need to hear before this time next year, which again was a suggestion in the comments that we're using. So thank you everybody for all the suggestions. But the Fire Spirit card is about kind of, obviously getting started. We are in an amazing time of initiation, all this energy in Aries. Aries energy can just be like initiation, getting started. And you have the King of Wands, which could be Aries. And so I think that you could be getting started on creating miracles. We even have a card of miracles right here with the Ten of Cups. Now, again, this doesn't have to be like a clickbaity miracle, right? A miracle can be something that you create. And, based off this reading so far, that's definitely what I feel. Now, it kind of makes sense to me because this is a personal thing. This is Chris's crappy astrology. This is not accurate astrology. But I personally believe that Neptune in Aries is really going to kind of is like teaching people to save themselves, if that makes sense. Where it's like if you think that something is going to magically happen to, change your situation. And I'm not saying you need to be saved, right? I'm just saying whatever you're trying to improve in your life. And so I think Neptune in Aries is like teaching people to save themselves, like I said. So I feel this could be a miracle that you are creating and you're getting to work on whatever that miracle is. So the Two of Pentacles is kind of like juggling, spinning plates, doing too much, and needing to balance the energy. So it's a really good reading. You actually have one of the best ones I've done so far. The readings haven't been bad. There just have definitely been challenges, right, that have come up for most people. And there are a couple challenges here, but like I said, yours definitely looks a lot better than most. So I like to see that. This is probably one of the challenges, is being too busy and not being focused. So again, this first row is representing the messages you need to hear before this time next year. So I would be spending time on focus here, Taurus. And I'm pretty sure that we've been talking about focus for a long time with you. You have the Ace of Swords, the Sun as well, which is great. But these are both cards of focus. The Sun shines a light on something that we need to focus on. We'll talk more about it in a minute. And the Ace of Swords is a laser-like focus. It is picking one thing and accomplishing it. Whenever I get readings like this, like the reading doesn't say what I'm about to say, but it kind of makes me feel this way, which is that maybe sometimes I think we get to a point in life where we start to see all the things that we think we missed out on or the things that we didn't do. And that makes us feel like we need to rush and do everything at once, right? And that's kind of the feeling I get on the Two of Pentacles. I just feel like it's saying, one thing at a time will get you there faster than trying to do everything at once. Plain and simple. You have the World. Yeah, there are definitely some signs that I think need to take up more space in the world, which is what I feel for you in this reading. And by that, I mean like sharing your ideas, putting your ideas out into the world. If you're working on a creative project, sharing it, putting it out into the world. Being the person you really want to be without feeling like embarrassment, right? It's like there could be some certain, traits that you have or certain parts of your personality that you really want to put on display, but you could be fearing like looking cringy or whatever. And I say embrace the cringe here with the World card. So I think that when you embrace the cringe, it's like people can't really criticize you. It's kind of like, kind of reminds me of if someone gives you a nickname when you are a child that is meant to be an insult, but if you own it, then it can't be used against you, right? And that's kind of the feeling I get on the world. It's like saying that you need to do things without worrying about what the world is going to think, but you also need to take up more space in the world. Like we can do that by doing more things as well. And that's what I feel the world is encouraging. You have the Wheel of Fortune. I feel like the Wheel of Fortune is encouraging control, especially because we go up to the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands really is a card of control. Technically, we have two cards of control in the tarot, the Strength card and the Chariot. The Chariot is hard control, Strength card is soft control. The Emperor, some people say is a card of control, but really he is controlling. He's not really a card of control. But sometimes I feel the Wheel of Fortune says that we need to take control of the direction of our life. The wheel is spinning in whatever direction it wants, and we can control it through education. As I always say, doubling down on the good stuff, taking care of the challenges right away. For you, I feel like it's fears. We have this snake on the side of the wheel. The snakes can be guardians of portals, and you have two portals here. The world, this lady is going through a portal in the middle of the card. There's a circle on this card. We're going to call it a portal. So the snake can say, snakes are guardians of portals. So we have to face fears, because snakes can represent fears, to cross through some sort of portal. Usually the things that we really want in life, we are afraid of in some way. And this card just says it would be a great time for you to face those fears. And we're not talking about like real, actual, like dangerous fears here. We're talking about, like the fear of public speaking, the fear of sharing your ideas, the fear of speaking up, the fear of taking up space, right? Some people try to stay small and try to stay out of the light. And this is saying, facing those fears and taking those types of risks look really good here for you, Taurus. With the Two of Pentacles, you have the Sun. Again, sure, we'll talk about it right now, right? I said we'll talk about it in a minute, but the Sun is kind of like a spotlight. The Sun comes up in a reading. It's a very good card, and it can make the whole entire reading more positive, but I always say the Sun is like a spotlight, shines a light on a section of a reading, and so it's shining its light on the Two of Pentacles, which we talked about. The thing about the Two of Pentacles and the Sun is that this would be about creating more ease in your life. This baby or child, whichever you prefer, is carrying this big-ass banner, flag, whatever you want to call it, whichever you prefer, I don't care, right? But that banner is meant to look very heavy, but he is carrying it very easily. And so the Sun sometimes tells me, as a reader, that whoever I'm reading for needs to look at how they can carry more weight without carrying more weight in the things that they're doing, right? So like in work or business, like there might be certain activities that you do that make a bigger impact. And so, and sometimes we have to work on the small things, absolutely. But, I'm just saying between now and this time next year, I think it would be a good time for you to focus on those big, those big levers, those things that really move big doors, or whatever saying you want to insert here, Taurus. I would be focusing on kind of like big impact activities. With the World, you have the Hermit. You literally cannot make it up. I said that you need to take up more space in the world. The Hermit is hiding from the world. The Hermit has been through a dark night of the soul, and he's standing at the top of this mountain, and he's standing in isolation. So he needs to come out of isolation. He has his inner light is hidden inside this lantern. Literally, there's nothing to say because I already said it. You need to take up more space. You need to shine your inner light. With the Wheel of Fortune, you have the Justice card. Definitely seems to be a collective energy. I've noticed the Justice card coming up for almost everyone. I feel that definitely for the rest of this year, we should really be looking at evidence, and also next year. So, Neptune is in Aries right now. It will be retrograding back into Pisces, but on January 26th of 2026, it will be moving back into Aries. We really need to trust the evidence. Neptune and Aries, it's kind of like we are looking for a savior, which is what I say to everyone with Neptune and Aries. We're looking for something that has all the answers. Neptune and Aries, I think, is like a test from the universe. We went through Neptune and Pisces, which was meant to teach you to trust yourself. And Neptune and Aries is like, are you really going to trust yourself, or are you going to give your power away to something else, right? And so with the Justice card, we have to really weigh up the options, but we also have to look at the evidence in anything that we're doing. We should trust but verify with the Justice card. We should, any solution, any person who claims to have the answers, it's okay to trust, but we should also then look at the evidence and verify that what they're saying is true, or that, if we're doing something in work or business, we need to verify that it's actually working. And as long as you kind of hold that position, things will go very well. But if you're just blindly trusting anything and everything, people, places, things, then you're going to have a hard time. So I would make sure that you don't do that with the Justice card for sure. Next, we are going to look at any big money shifts or career or finance that could be happening this time next year. You have this Clean It Up card and this Orphaned card. Yeah, I do, like we've talked about this before, Taurus. just based off your astrology, I think a lot of you are trying to get out of the cage. I've used the caged bull metaphor with you many times in the past, and so that could represent like cleaning up money blocks that you have from when you were younger or from your parents or something like that. It could be also the fears that you are going to be left out in the cold financially with this orphan card. And so I would work on those things, even though this part of the reading is meant to represent where you will be next year, this row financially. I feel this is something that you could absolutely start working on right now. Start working on your emotional attachment, because we have the King of Cups, the Ten of Cups, and the King of Wands showing up here. King of Cups is very deep emotions. He's sitting in the middle of the ocean, and the whole point of this card is that he has explored his emotions to a very deep level. But he's sitting in these choppy waters, but he is perfectly fine because he has explored his emotions. He is in control, speaking of control, of his emotions as well. So I feel financially it would be a great time to work on controlling your emotions around finances, and kind of like how you worry about finances. I would be working on that as well. I also think like the place you come from is very important for you financially, and here's what I mean. It's like never in my life, like especially when I was younger, I was all about money, and I never made money. Right? So it's like when I was focused on money, I never made it. When I stopped like worrying about it and stopped being about money, then I started making money. It's like a weird fact of life. So I kind of feel that with the King of Cups. And I would start, I would change your words around finances as well. I've been listening to a lot of Marissa Peer lately, and, she says that instead of saying that you need money, you should be saying that you require money, and which is an interesting way to phrase it, I think. But you're basically telling the universe what you require. And so I feel that with the King of Cups, that maybe you need to change your words around how you speak about finances, and also watch your emotions around finances as well. You have the Ten of Cups. So again, you could be creating a miracle financially. Now, I want to stress that this is probably going to be something that requires work. Like, this isn't just going to magically happen here, Taurus. You're going to have to put the work in. But I do see that if you get more like focused on like what you're working on, and if you focus kind of on I want to say the word phases, but that's not the word that I actually want to use. It's like strategy. If you focus on your strategy and you come up with a strategy that you stick to, or like a plan, or like a certain model that you follow financially, I feel like that is something that needs to happen. Right now, I'm not criticizing you here right now, Taurus, but I feel a little bit of like chicken with its head cut off type of energy financially, where it's like you could be kind of like running around a little bit and, kind of going back and forth and making money from different sources. And now that's not a bad thing at all, right? If you're making money from doing different things, I'm not saying there's something wrong with that. But what I am saying is like focusing into it and, coming up with a better plan is, for some reason, that's what's popping into my head. That's like where the miracle will come from in your finances, is like through discipline, not, all the boring stuff, right? Discipline, having a framework, following a plan, coming up with rules, and, all that other, and being responsible, all the boring stuff, right? I think that's what will create a financial, miracle for you. But there definitely could be like a blessing in disguise coming into your finances by this time next year, which I think will be great. You have the King of Wands. I feel like this is you like believing in yourself more. He's very confident, bold, assertive. King of Wands has the gift of foresight as well. He is kind of like a little bit psychic, and that's something that people don't really know about the King of Wands. He is able to almost see the future, but it's from like a more innovative perspective. He isn't necessarily psychic, although I kind of think he is. I think the King of Wands can almost like see where trends are going, for example, financially. And it doesn't matter if you're retired or if you have a job or a career or whatever. I think that the trends that you see are something you should pay attention to. And I would be like thinking with the King of Wands, he's very entrepreneurial. He's very, kind of very innovative, and he can really come up with really good ideas. So again, even if you're retired, I always say entrepreneurial, and people are like, I don't have a business. I'm like, that doesn't mean you can't be entrepreneurial. That doesn't mean you can't use the principles, right? So you don't have to have a business, but you can think like an entrepreneur. You can think smartly about your finances, and you can notice trends, and you could take advantage of those trends. So that's what I would be doing with the King of Wands for sure. With the King of Cups, you have the Hangman. Yeah, like this is like taking your time. I also kind of feel this is very much Uranus and Taurus energy, even though that's not what this represents. He has been stuck on pause for a long time, and he sacrificed movement so he can gain enlightenment. Sometimes I think we need to be like a chicken with our head cut off because we're experiencing a lot, we're running around, we're doing a lot, and then when we come back to center, when we take a pause, then we can figure out what we actually want to do, but we have to have the experiences first. And so maybe that's the time that you're kind of coming off of, is that you've been in a time where you've been exploring, learning new things, looking at different ideas, and now this time next year you're like making a decision, or you are clearly enlightened this time next year, sun twice. This could say that you are finally getting the answers on what you should be doing. So I definitely like that. With the Ten of Cups, you have the Five of Swords. Yeah, I feel like the Five of Swords is talking about taking bigger risks, especially with what we said here with the World and the Hermit needing to, take up space in the world, needing to get out of isolation and needing to put yourself out there, right? So a lot of you could be doing that with the Five of Swords energy for sure. I do feel like this could also just be a change in what you're doing. Five of Swords can represent separation or walking away from something, so it wouldn't really surprise me if some of you were changing your work, by this time next year, or maybe you're doing something different. You could be walking away from some things. Remember what I said, like chicken with the head cut off? You clearly are maybe saying to yourself, I can do this one thing, but I don't have to do all these other things, and that's what you're doing. Here you go. With the King of Wands, you have the King of Cups again. So repeating cards are basically the universe saying I meant what I said. I feel when you are like clear emotionally and taking action with that King of Wands, things are going to start going really well for you, Taurus. So I would, get clear. I would also look at your emotions, like maybe you need a pause. Like I would say, even though this row is meant to represent this time next year, it's like right now, maybe you need an emotional pause. Maybe you need a vacation, or if you can't take a vacation, maybe you just need to carve out like 10, 20 minutes every single day where you just allow your mind to wander and think with that Hangman, and you need to ask yourself, what do I really want? Ten of Cups with the Five of Swords, really could say that you care too much for a lot of people in your life, which obviously if you have a family, maybe there's a good reason for it. But also, sometimes I think we need to separate away from that energy. And it doesn't say you're leaving your family. We just need to carve out some time for ourselves to think about what we want. And that is what I feel needs to happen with those two cards for some of you. In the next row, we're going to look at what you need to hear for this time next year, and also any challenges that are going to come up between now and this time next year. You have this Broken Open card, which is interesting, and the Storyteller card. The Broken Open card kind of has reminded me of the Hermit. She's shining her inner light, so I think that you are going to be shining your inner light and putting yourself out there more into the world, which is going to be great. The Storyteller card, I'm pretty sure you always get these cards with me, Taurus, that say you need to be careful of the story you tell yourself, or the words that you're using, which we talked about with the King of Cups. And I think it would be a great time for you to write a new story for yourself. I've definitely told you this before. It's kind of reminding me, I have that other deck. I don't know where it is. I thought it was over here. But, I have that Animal Oracle deck from Colette Baron Reed. I can never remember the name of that one. But you always get the spider in that deck with me, which is about the story you tell, or the web that you weave. So I think that, kind of, maybe you literally need to write down a story. I'm a big fan. I tell people to do this all the time. Like, write down your life as if it went 110% according to plan, with no limitations. What would that look like? And play around with it, right? So I think you need to start telling a different story, and you probably will by this time next year. You have the Seven of Wands, the Two of Swords, and the Sun. Seven of Wands and Two of Swords is thinking, when anyone presents you with an idea, this is the automatically saying that won't work. And it's pretty simple, Taurus. I think that's what you need to avoid, is like whenever you learn a new idea or you hear something that you think is too good to be true, instead of jumping to conclusions, I would like try those ideas. Now, the reason that I think Taurus is so skeptical right now is maybe because because of Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Taurus hates get-rich-quick schemes, right? And things like that. Uranus and Taurus wants us to build true freedom, but wants us to do it in a disciplined, straightforward, kind of slow, plodding way, which is usually good because, they say easy come, easy go, right? So if you build something super fast, it can disappear just as quickly. And again, Uranus and Taurus wants us to build true stability, which can take time. So if someone comes to you, or if you're reading a book and you're learning a technique for something in your life, and if it seems too fast, you might think it's too good to be true. But what I would argue is that you should try it anyway, even if you think it's not going to work. I would be trying those things you think aren't going to work, especially, it's like most of these things that, as long as it's not going to be like ruin your life. I'm not talking about things that are going to ruin your life. I'm talking about like little tiny risks that you could be taking. And so instead of just assuming that something isn't going to work, I think, finding out if it actually is would be a good idea for you. I do also feel pretty good about this. Seven of Wands is a card of conviction, and we have a lot of confidence showing up in the reading. The Sun twice, King of Wands, even the Ace of Swords is like a card of fortitude or strength. So I feel that you are very much convicted in your beliefs this time next year and more like certain of yourself. So I feel pretty good about that. You have the Two of Swords. I don't know. I have a feeling that every single fixed sign is probably going to get the Two of Swords, probably in the same row, because Two of Swords, is a very fixed energy. She is thinking this or that. She's trying to protect herself, and she's thinking there's only two options when there's a third option behind her here. So the Two of Swords, I feel, is saying to you, like, be open to all options, which we basically just said. Be open to other ways of doing things, other ways of accomplishing things, and as long as you're open, I think things will go very, very well for you. You have the Sun. The Sun, of course, is the best card in the deck, so makes the whole entire reading more positive. I think, as always, like, more playfulness is a good idea. The Sun represents our inner child right here, and so sometimes I think we have to be more playful. I think for the next 20 years, the energy is too serious, and we need to be more playful. With the Seven of Wands, you have the Five of Wands. This could be another challenge for sure, is competition. So if you have a job, a business, a career, anything that you're doing, the Five of Wands could say that there is competition that you are fearing. The Seven of Wands, I do get a little bit of that energy of trying to protect yourself too much from competition. And so I would say, like, don't be afraid of the competition. The other thing I'm getting here, you have the Ace of Swords right next to this. The Ace of Swords has that crown on the top of the sword there, and it's like sometimes I think we just need to claim our crown, right? The best example I can give you is social media. Like, I see this all the time on social media where people will just all of a sudden kind of like get 1 million followers or something. They like come out of nowhere all of a sudden, and they'll just be like, I am the YouTube expert, for example. They will just claim it. They just say that they are a thing, right? And without any wavering in their voice. And I kind of get that energy for you, Taurus, where it's like if you're trying to do something, I would just claim it confidently and just say that you are the expert or that you are the authority on something. And I don't know, sometimes I think it is literally that easy as just claiming it. And so there's like something that needs to be claimed here. With the Eight of Swords, you have the Two of Swords, you have the Eight of Wands. Eight of Wands is like quick success and quick movement. So again, trying different things, trying, third place solutions is probably going to speed things up for you and will probably lead to success a lot faster in your life. So I would definitely do that. It's another card of your words. So like I said, I would be, telling the story not only next year, but this year of what you want. And I think that, that's a long-term theme for you, Taurus. With the Sun, you have the Devil. The Devil can represent toxic energy, but I kind of feel like this is trapped creativity for you here, Taurus. We have a lot of creative cards here as well. King of Wands, Eight of Wands. Even the Sun can be very creative as well. Even the Two of Pentacles. It's like work hard, play hard, but it's like maybe he's only focused on the work. He might not be focused on the play or the creative side. And so the Devil, these people have these animal horns on their heads here. And the animal horns represents our baser instincts or our root chakra energy. And so it's like that's the creative force. Sometimes we have to bring it up to our heads and express it into the world. So, focusing more on creative solutions or being more creative or allowing yourself to be creative could be a big theme here. Next, what are we doing? Oh yeah, we're going to look at love and relationships here. So all relationships if you don't want love or if you already have it. You have this patience card and this clear your energy card. I do think everybody needs to clear their energy from the past. We're in a completely different time for love, which actually started in like 2022 or 2023. Although, changes don't happen overnight. So it's been kind of like a slow change. But I think we all need to kind of like clear our energy from the past, and we need to look at new connections as completely new. And so that's what I would do there. You could have been very patient for a connection to show up as well if you're looking for love. You have the Ace of Swords. Part of me feels like this time next year you're more focused on work, even though this is showing up in a love position in the reading. I just feel you're very focused, right? So, again, I attach meaning to these rows, but I don't try to force them to say something that they don't. And there is love here, but I just feel that you are in a more focused energy with the Ace of Swords. It's like there's something that you need to claim as like part of your life as well. And, part of that also, Taurus, that I think people don't think about is like our relationships. It's like, if you're going to be successful people have successful relationships for the most part, right? And so I think this is about focusing on, creating those successful relationships. And people always say to me, well, I know a billionaire who's in a miserable marriage. I'm like, yeah, but then they are not truly successful. Is the point. It's like, so yeah, sure. I'm sure you can find an example of a rich person who has a miserable relationship, but then they are not truly successful. So to be truly successful, we have to have successful relationships, right? That's what I'm saying. And so I think this could be you being very focused. And I also think that you need to claim like the image of yourself in the future. You need to say, this is who I am, and this type of person that I am has this type of relationship, and that's what you need to focus on with the Ace of Swords. There also could be communication coming in love. You also have the Lovers, so if you want love, definitely could be a new love connection coming in for you. If you already have love, this is very positive as well. Just say that you're kind of like having a good time in the connection that you already have. If you don't want love, and even if you do, I think that you could be kind of attracting more divinely guided connections. This right here is your higher self angel. The higher self angel is guiding these two people together, and a lot of you could be finding that you're being guided towards better connections in work and business, friendships, all those other things. And so it does look like a good year for the energy of love in general, as far as people are concerned. You have the Fool. I kind of feel like the Fool is just saying it's like a new beginning in relationships. And, over the years, like let's say since like 2008, I feel that Taurus has been learning a lot of lessons in their connections, all connections, not just love, friendships, people, places, things, their connections to those things. And I feel the Fool is about your intentions. He has this white rose right here, which represents pure intentions. And so the way that he enters into new connections, all connections, is with purity. So I feel that you could be entering into connections in a different way. With the Ace of Swords, you show up here. Can't make that up either. That Ace of Swords is the image of you. It is how you see yourself, right? And the King of Pentacles is you showing up in a very strong position. So I feel that a lot of you, maybe this reading is really saying that the best thing you could do between even earlier than next year, like starting right now, is kind of stepping into the vision that you want to claim for yourself. There are certain habits, certain beliefs that you might have to adopt. There might be certain people that you need to find to fit into your life. And, I would be thinking about all that with the King of Pentacles. With the Lovers, you have the Three of Pentacles. Yeah, true teamwork, right? This is what I was talking about since 2008. If you've been working on teams or working together with other people, you've probably had people that can't pull their own weight, or just clashes in general in the past, probably due to, vision, basically, with the Ace of Swords. So, and also the Sun. The Sun is very clear vision. So let's say you're working on a project with people in the past. There could have been issues with like what you see and what they see as an outcome. And so this is very good, Taurus, because this kind of tells me that this energy is finally changing. It's like you're finally finding people who have the same vision that you do, and I think that'll be very beneficial. With the Fool, you have the Four of Pentacles. It's time to leap off the mountain with the Hermit, for sure. The Four of Pentacles is holding on too tightly to the past, or holding on too tightly to the old story. And so I feel it's kind of time for you to step off of the mountain and like shine your inner light, basically. You have this flag card. It says, do not be tempted to lower your standards. A lot of standard stuff coming up for people in readings, I would say, as well. Not even just this set of readings, but just lately. You know, the Eight of Cups has been coming up like crazy since the last set of eclipses in March. And, you know, the Eight of Cups is the only card in the tarot that has an eclipse on it. So it kind of makes sense. But you don't have the Eight of Cups, but you have this right here, which says do not settle. So definitely would be a good time to not settle. You have this owl. It says, good advice from a wise person. I'm telling you right now, Taurus, I feel there are people in your life, maybe one person who's very wise. And I feel like, you know, even though you know that this person is smart, you might say to yourself sometimes, that doesn't work, right? And so, you know, I'm not saying you're being closed off or anything, but I would just try things, even if you think something isn't going to work, because, you know, it probably does. You're just not seeing it. You have this crown card. It says honor and respect will come to you. We talked about you claiming something, in the crown at the top of the Ace of Swords. I think you are doing this with your identity, and by kind of like identity shifting, to use a term. And to do this, I think you have to adopt the habits, surround yourself with the right people, watch the right things on TV, you know, really get into the energy of someone that you want to be. And that's like what you're working on. You have this old woman. It says dealings with relationships with an older woman. You have the shark. It says take care or there will be loss of material wealth. A lot of people have been getting these cards of needing to be careful, like who they give what to. Not just money, but like, you know, energy, time, effort, attention. So if you have a person that's like a shark in your life, I would definitely be careful. You have this eagle. It says triumph over obstacles. We see a lot of overcoming obstacles in this reading. Hermit, Ace of Swords. You know, on the Ace of Swords, the sword is above the mountain, or above the mountains on the Ace of Swords, which can represent overcoming obstacles. So you definitely could be overcoming some obstacles here. But I really like this. Again, definitely one of the better readings I've done for this set of readings. So thank you for being here, and definitely enjoy this time next year.